Good morning, class. This is Dr. Karsten, and today we are going to be doing lesson 35, and that's from Module 5, Grade 4, EngageNY Math. In today's lesson, we are going to be doing multiplication of a whole number and a fraction. So this is going to be very different from what we were doing last week. Since this is our last full week of instruction, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit just to make sure that we cover any topics that you really need to have for next year. All right, so let's get started. So let's say that we have the problem of 4 times 3 centimeters. So let me go ahead and write that for you. So if we're doing 4 times 3 centimeters, oops, helps if I spell it right. Well, what you're looking here is that centimeters is telling you that, that you're 1/100th of a meter. So I just want to remind you of that. You have 100 centimeters in a meter. So really this is kind of like saying 3/100ths. So let's not worry about that though. First, let's just say we have 4 times 3 centimeters. We can treat centimeters like a label, because that's really kind of like the denominator. And so what we could do is we can actually associate the 4 times 3 and keep the centimeters separate. So what we're doing is we're using the associative property to group things differently to make it easier to multiply. And when we do that, when we have 4 times 3 centimeters, and then we group the 4 times 3 together, we end up with 12 centimeters. Well, similarly, let's say that I wanted to multiply. Let's do 4 times 3/5. And I'm going to write it out first. If I wanted to do 4 times 3/5, there are a bunch of different ways that I can do this. And we're going to be using the same concept of the associative property to group things the way that we want. So if right now all you're hearing is blah, 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 don't worry, it's going to be fine. Let's first model this visually, just so that we know what we're doing, so that it makes a lot more sense. So what I want to do is I want to make a tape diagram. I'm going to leave it open-ended at the end because I'm not exactly going to be perfect at doing this. But I want to draw fifths. So I'm going to start drawing fifths. I have 1/5. I have another fifth, so that's 2/5. And that's 3/5. So right now, oops, sorry about that, I have 3/5. Oh, let me add some light on this. That might be helpful. And I want to do that 4 times, so I'm going to do that again. And you know what? Let's make it really clear by changing up colors. So that was our first set of 3/5. So now I'm going to have 1/5, 1/5, 1/5. And that's going to be another set of 3/5. And now let's go ahead and we'll do another set. 1, 2, 3. So we have 1/5, 1/5, and 1/5. And I'm going to give you our first secret code word. Our first secret word for today is super. S-U-P-E-R, super. Okay, so now we have another set of 3/5. 1, 2, 3, and now I have an idea how far I need to go so I can finish this out. So now I'm going to have 1/5, 1/5, 1/5. Okay, and that's our last set of 3/5. So what you can see here is that 3/5 could also be modeled as visually here as 3/5 would be 1/5, 1/5, 1/5. And then we have another set of 3/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, so that's 3/5. So here we have 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets. So visually speaking, we can see now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fifths. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that really quick here for us so we know where we're heading. So I'm kind of wondering if you guys are already noticing something here, that if we have 4 times 3/5, we have this 12 here. And if you guys starting to see what we can do? we can do exactly what we did before when we just had that label of centimeters. Here, I think it's more visual that you can see that we're really dealing with fifths. So let's go ahead and let's play with the associative property. Oop. My kids were doing arts and crafts here, so I have some arts and crafts, but I want to get this video out as quickly as possible. So I apologize if anything shows up, any markers or anything on screen. Okay, so again, we had 4 times 3 fifths. And the way that this is originally is that 3 fifths, forgot my S, is really grouped together because we have 3 fifths, 3 fifths, 3 fifths, 3 fifths. But now, and we have it 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. But now, instead of doing it this way, let's change this up and let's group 4 times or associate 4 times 3, and we'll keep our fifths. And now what we see is we have 12 fifths. But what do I do with this? Well, since they're fifths, I have to put it over 5. Oop. All right. So I hope this is kind of making a little bit of sense. Now let's do it strictly numerically. So here we did it using words to show this. We did 4 times 3 fifths, 4 times 3 fifths, 12 fifths. So we just changed how we were grouping it. So this is kind of the explanation way. Now let's do it the easy way, the math way. So if I have 4 times 3 fifths again, so I'm just going to write it again here so that we know what we're working with. Another way to write this is to say 4 times 3 fifths. And what you should have learned before is that what we were doing was we were simply multiplying 4 times 3 and holding on to that fifths. Right? I'm just going to move this up a little bit. And so you would end up with 12 fifths. Now, why can you do that? Well, there's a bunch of reasons that we can do this. One is that we could rewrite this as 4 times 3 times 1/5. So that might work for you. Or I think the easier way of thinking about this is to do this, where we say when we have 4 times 3 fifths, another way of thinking about this 4 is that we have 4 wholes. And so that's why we are able to actually just go ahead and rewrite this as 4 times 3 fifths. That's another way of saying it. Now you can see also that this is the same thing as 4 times 3 fifths. So do you see what I did? Watch. 4 times 3 fifths. So that's another way of showing it. And you can think about what we've been doing when we've been doing our multiplication, when we've been decomposing numbers, is we've been saying, oh, well, this 4 is really 4 wholes. And remember, our denominator is telling us the number of pieces that make up one whole. So the denominator tells us the number of pieces that makes up one whole. Here we have 4 wholes, so there's 1 piece makes up that whole, times 3 fifths. And that might make you more comfortable with understanding why we can just slip that 4 into the numerator. And then we end up with 4 times 3, 1 times 5. So this is another way of thinking about it. Okay, so now if your mind's a little bit blown, because I'm showing you all these different ways of thinking about it, let's try another problem, and we're going to keep it super simple this time. So let's say that we are doing, let me move that out of our way. There's just like marker all over my table and stuff. All right, so here we go. 2 times 4 sixths. So remember, the easiest way probably to think about this is to just say that you have 2 times 4 sixths, and you end up with 8 sixths. So that's probably going to be your easiest way of thinking about this. But again, you could think about it in all the other ways that we just did. But the easiest one for you is probably going to say it's going to be 2 times 4 sixths. It's just 2 times 4 sixths. We're grouping the 2 times the 4. We're associating those together. So that's probably the easiest way of thinking about this. I'm going to give you our second secret word because this is a short lesson. And it's star. S-T-A-R star. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do a couple more quick problems. Or actually, let's jump into the problem set, because that seriously is the lesson. All right, we are going to skip problem 1. We're not going to do it. So I want to keep this simple again. You know, we're down to our last week of instruction. I really want to keep things nice and easy. So let's take a look. It says write the expression in unit form to solve. Do you guys remember what unit form is? Unit form is just when you write it using the words. So I'm going to just really quickly show you what they're asking you to do. They're asking you to do 7 times 2/3. And then you can just go ahead and group that 7 and 2. You can associate them. And so you would end up with 7 times 2 is 14. You'd end up with 14/3. I'm going to try and squeeze that in here. And another way to write that would be 14/3. Let's also do it the numeric way, though, that we were just doing. So if I have 7 times 2/3, again, another way of thinking about that is 7 times 2/3, or 14/3. So I hope that that's making sense for you. And again, you could have thought of it as being 7/1 times 2/3, because it's 7 units, 7 wholes, so 7/1. Okay, let's try C together. So here we would have 16 times 3/8. And then what we want to do is we want to group that 16 and that 3. And if you need to do that on the side, that's fine. You can do 16 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So I would end up with 48/8. Now again, I can also do this numerically. I can do 16 times 3/8 is going to be equal to 16 times 3 over 8 to make those 8, so 16 times 3/8, and that's going to give me that 48/8. Okay, so you have it 2 different ways. One is where you're showing what the units are here on the side, and then here we have it numerically. So let's take a look at what else you're gonna work on B and D. And let's just take a quick peek here. So for this one, you can solve it whichever way you want. Try to line it up for us. So here I have 7 times 4/9. So again, I could do 7 times 4/9. And again, this could be 7/1. All right, so 7 times 4, and I hope you guys remember this, 28, and we keep our 9s. All right, I'm just going to grab one more for us. Oh, so you're going to have to do, you're going to have to remember your multiplication here, my friends. So here we have 12 times 7/10, so let's do this one. So this could be equal to 12 times 7/10. And then again, you can do your math on the side if you need to, if you don't remember what this is. When I do 12 times 7, I remember 10 times 7 is 70, and 2 times 7 is 14, so I'd have 84. But if you don't remember that, then do this. 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. Oh, and I just remembered that we have been doing this a slightly different way. That we've been putting it down there. So I apologize that I was doing it the old-fashioned way. But a lot of you do it that way too. But again, I want to remind you guys that you could have done 7 times 12 is 14, and then 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8, and that's the way we've been doing it. It's very early in the morning. And we end up with 84/10. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys finish this out on your own, and our final word is class. C-L-A-S-S. So the last word is class. All right. I hope that this is making sense. It's a pretty quick lesson, 15 minutes we did it. I will be available in Google Classroom. We'll be able to chat there. You can also post me any questions that you have. We'll do our Google Meet today. So let's have another great day. Bye.